On 2112 Alisana Street, you will find Christopher Schaefer Clothier. For 15 years, Mr. Schaefer and Company have run a world-class haberdashery in the heart of Baltimore City. Offering second-to-none tailoring of his own incredible brand, Mr. Schaefer is more than meets the eye when it comes to suit making. Don't be another Baltimorean. Be a finely styled Baltimorean with Christopher Schaefer Clothier.
All right, Baltimore, welcome to another episode of Sanity Lounge. We have a special guest today.
We have an esteemed guest
today. We have Elizabeth Bonner. She is a board member for Unite Mount Vernon. She helps protect and restore historic buildings in Baltimore, all around, mainly in Mount Vernon area, I would say. Mm-hmm. She with Unite Mount Vernon, which we'll get into. You recently purchased the United Methodist Church in Mount Vernon. It's called the Big Green Church.
Well, people call it the Green Church. It's known as that because it has unusual serpentine stone, which is green.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's got the three steeples. It's a beautiful church, which I've been in recently twice now.
And we're going to get into the history.
Yes, we're going to get into the history of that. You also have a chateau in France that we will discuss, which is pretty cool. It's in Normandy, actually, which I'm very excited to hear about. So welcome. Yeah, this is going to be a cool conversation on Baltimore history, architectural history, and anything else we can really think of.
Great.
Yeah, this is incredible. It's wonderful to meet you. Like I told you at the beginning, I guess other than Elizabeth Messing, we haven't had an official lady, come through, or occasionally, you know what I mean?
Elizabeth and Britt and Enslow and
they're all
the ladies that we've had through here will be.
They're musicians. It's way different.
Daphne London.
This is what I do. Yeah.
I'm going to try to live up to this.
This is what I'm saying.
Don't give me anything to drink.
I'm excited. Don't tempt me. I'm excited that you're here, and it's exciting to meet you. Now, the one thing I want to tell the audience is it was an interesting way that you came into our world here recently. And one of the supporters of the show is a gentleman named Hollis. And Hollis, we know because, we've been in business with him for a little bit now, has a lot of Baltimore history, like in his family, just in general. It's always like...
It's gone further back than we even realized at this point.
He's just always got this wild history, And so one day he says to me, I'm going to meet with Elizabeth Massing, a mutual friend that we met last year, and they have stuff going on. We have stuff going on, so occasionally we talk. And I thought, well, that's curious. And when he met with Elizabeth, you were there.
Yeah.
And I would like for you to tell the audience your connection with Hollis, if you would.
Well, my connection with Hollis is as a friend of Elizabeth Massing, but we had a deeper connection, we found out, because I'm a principal in a business, a publishing company, which about 32 years ago acquired its first building in Mount Vernon Place to use as an office. And subsequently, we acquired a few other ones and renovated them and have preserved them. And one of those buildings is 702 Cathedral, known to us as the Christian Science Building. Mm-hmm. But before that, it was an Albert family building. Mm-hmm. It was built by, I think, William Albert, who's one of Hollis's direct ancestors.
Yes.
And it's distinguished because President Lincoln slept there, and the bed in which he slept is still in the Albert family.
I mean, can you
you can sleep in
and
it.
I believe Lafayette slept there also, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
No. Well, maybe. I think it would be unlikely because Lafayette visited the United States, I think, in 1823 or something. Maybe actually earlier than that. And nothing was really built in Mount Vernon Place. Wasn't what we see it as we see it today. Then, the monument itself was built pretty soon after the War of 1812, but
Is that right? Wow, I didn't think I didn't realize it was that old.
Yeah, it's the first monument to George Washington that was built in the United States.
That's so fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. And it reflects the fact that at the time, Baltimore was an extremely prominent city. It was a very important place culturally, and it had a very strong Revolutionary War heritage, and it was also a very rich city. It had the money to build that. That monument was built by the citizens of Baltimore.
Wow.
It was private contributions. And anyhow, that went up, and the land that it was built on belonged to the Howard family. John Eager Howard was a hero of the American Revolution and a contemporary of George Washington, obviously, in Lafayette. So he gave that land, and then his sons gave the land on which Mount Vernon Place was built, and they lotified it. They gave the land for the parks that surround the monument, and then the family lotified
Meaning
all
what?
around it.
For the
Meaning
layman,
that they
what would that-
created, lotifying is when you take land and divide it up to build houses on it.
I got you. Subdivide.
Yeah,
or something,
subdivide.
sort of.
I guess that's a French word.
The
Lotify.
Zeps lotify.
I got you.
Their farms.
Yeah, right. I did.
They all live on the farmland.
Okay.
Right.
Just so
well,
we
anyway,
keep everybody
they
in the audience
subdivided
up to
it.
yeah.
I'm
Right.
sorry. And they,
Well, no.
yeah, and so they started building. There was a house that belonged to the Howards, and that happens to be the house where Francis Scott Keyes died because his daughter was married to John Eager Howard's son, one of his sons. Anyhow, so that house actually stands where the church is today. But the first houses were built there was another house built in 1838, which I happen to have acquired. Just fixing the portico right now. And then the majority of houses were built in the 1840s and 50s and 60s. And so that was when the Alberts built their houses there.
Wow. Well, that's the thing. It blew me away
Yeah.
when he came back and told me. He's like, this lady owns my great grandfather's house.
Not only that, we own another house that I think his great
Augustus
uncle
Albert,
built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Augustus lived around the corner on Monument Street, and William lived on the 702 Cathedral Street.
Well, there's another funny little coincidence there because that house on West Monument became a boarding house, and that's where John Wilkes Booth liked to stay
Oh, shit.
Oh,
when
really?
he was an actor before
Wow.
he became an assassin.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah, and
Isn't
then
that strange?
William was, Hollis was telling me he was also a Union soldier, and he was a member of Congress, too.
Wow,
Yeah.
man.
It's a very distinguished family with
Yeah.
long roots,
Right.
deep
Yeah.
roots in Baltimore history.
Those houses are amazing. I mean, we got to go into them. I mean, the staircases, it's the one on Monument Street. Which one's which? Which one's next to the offices? That's the
one that's on the square that looks out at the West Park, as they call it, and the monument itself. That's 702, and that was built by William.
Right.
That's where President Lincoln stayed.
okay.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
The other house on West Monument was redone.
Right.
So that has kind of a more sweeping staircase, but so does the one on
Yeah,
Cathedral.
the
They're all
staircase
amazing.
is wild because
Yeah.
you would not. Brian's deathly afraid of heights. He would not like that because when you get to the third floor of the staircase, it has a little.
If it leans, baby, I'll
it
go
has a little
vertigo
lean.
in this song.
I found myself walking towards the wall.
Yeah,
like,
I'll be
around
grabbing
the wall.
the-
It was
yeah.
cool. It's very safe though.
Gives you a bit of a death wish when
Yes,
you're up there.
it's wild.
Yeah.
Well,
Gorgeous inside.
Well,
though.
Miss Elizabeth, I'm sorry for jumping ahead. I
No,
kind
go
of want
ahead.
to start at the beginning. You had said 30 years ago. Do you have something? Or you
No.
Okay. You had said 30 years ago you started Agora Publishing.
No, well, that's not exactly how it worked. About 40 years ago, my husband and a partner started Agora, and I joined as a kind of a young, fresh-faced,
Yeah, right.
recent graduate who wanted to get into publishing. And we moved up to Baltimore. We moved the business to Baltimore, I think, in 1982, and we moved on to East Baltimore Street because he wished. Mayor Schaefer was at that time, was at that time giving away houses for $100, $200. Wow. So we got two buildings together for $200 a piece and very cheap financing because interest rates were very high back then. It was a high inflation environment. So we
$200
$200 a piece. Yeah, and we renovated them, and they were our headquarters.
Right.
And then we started to really grow. And so we bought...
You said this is 1980?
That's 1982.
82,
So by 1993, we needed another space, and I bought 14 West Mount Vernon Place. And that was the beginning, and we moved into that, lock, stock, and barrel, and sold the other places. And then we just expanded our campus onto Mount Vernon Place, and then throughout Mount Vernon.
Right. Now, have you always been like a history buff, or is it just you're more of you started as like a real estate type vibe?
No,
but
I'm a history buff.
Right.
But I got into real estate. I also like real estate a lot.
Yeah, sure. No, yeah.
I like the contact with something, physical that you can improve, and I like the idea of tenants in there enjoying it, and I like the whole thing about it. So It was a kind of natural fit.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a unique game. My father was in real estate. My sister was in real estate. But it's always, you got to have the knack for it and the passion for it. But and especially if you like history. I mean, what a great gig for someone like you, to love history and then to be able to actually purchase and touch it and maybe help it in some way or something.
And get interested in its past. I find the whole thing very interesting.
It really is.
And there's sort of like plants in a garden. You take care of them and they thrive and you feel good about it.
Right. And also I would imagine like time, because I'm getting older now, but it's like time flies now. And it's like, but an investment like that, it's like, I feel like once you understand how time works, it's such a solid, good investment, and it helps the community and everything.
Yeah.
Because over time you can revamp it, and that's what you guys do, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that is what you hope for. That it's because it's not the way I do it. It certainly is not a quick fix and flip.
Right.
And that's a different type of thing, which has its appeal and uses. And you want to know. I mean, you certainly hope and have faith that things will continue to improve, and that your property is going to contribute to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And certainly that's what has driven me to acquire property in Mount Vernon in the last 5 years, is just seeing that, that it's a housing stock that's old and it's showing wear. And and the whole neighborhood kind of does, and it needs another sort of infusion of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And renovating old houses, that comes with its own challenges, I imagine.
Very challenging.
And it's not like an overnight, permits and things like that have to be quite tricky.
Well, permits are one thing and they're administrative, but the challenging thing is when you open up a wall and you realize there is no wall.
Right.
Because somebody thought that they would just bash through a hole for a pipe.
Right.
And then somebody else sawed away at the rafters because they were
code
running a duct.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know. I'm
The building code was a little looser.
It was looser, and I think people were also... One of the buildings that I'm renovating now, it was renovated several times. And it's interesting because it's a very solid building built in about 1847. And it ended up as a boarding house. And you can see how, at the turn of the century, they had new techniques, but they didn't really know how to use them. So they would put in a steel beam, but it would be too short. It wasn't really being supported. It wasn't really doing the job because the trades hadn't really caught up with new technology and new materials.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
so
it is really
the industry had yet to perfect all the nooks and crannies of the stuff. That's
People weren't used to working with things. It was in between doing things for a different building style and system.
Now let me ask you this: one of the nightmares is, you say, like the litigious end of renovating those kinds of like historical properties, but I would imagine that there's a lot of red tape with actually doing anything to change the building, right? I mean,
but luckily I don't really want to change the building.
Right.
So I'm putting it back to the way it was in a lot of cases. And generally I have a very good relationship with CHAP, which is a historic preservation agency in the city, and where, like everybody, permits can be like pulling out teeth.
Right.
But you just have to be persistent in this environment and go down there and find a human being. And if you do that, usually it works out.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's inspiring to hear, because
it can be done.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, you got to put the legwork in, though, unfortunately.
Yes, they want you to think it's all just technological and virtual, and we're living in this new world. No,
Right.
we're not.
Right.
Right. I
yet.
love hearing that, Elizabeth. I really do. I mean,
Yeah.
so talk to me about France, because I didn't know anything about France. Now, it says owner and managing director, farm in Courtemer?
Courtemer.
France.
Chateau de Courtemer.
Courtemer.
Okay, and what is that like? What do you do over there?
Well,
is that Agora?
No,
Okay.
it's connected. We moved to France in, I guess, 1996, because my husband was at a point in the business had grown a lot. He had very good people running it.
Right.
And he felt he could run it from overseas, and he could also start branches overseas, which he
Nice.
really wanted to do. So we had first gone to London, and he acquired a business there and got that up and running. And we spent a year there, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I bet. I've
And-
never been overseas.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
it was wonderful. Really great for the children, too, who are all very young.
And that's the 90s, you said?
That was the 90s, and I had a newborn baby. He
Nice.
was 3 months old, and we got on the plane
You
with
were
all our
jet
stuff.
setting. Yeah, with
Well,
the
I don't know.
family. Yeah.
Adventurous.
Yeah, nice.
Right.
And then about a year later, my husband said, "Why don't we go buy someplace in France? It's so inexpensive." So my husband loves real estate, and he happened to be with his business partner in Paris for a weekend. They had nothing to do, so they got into trouble, which is they bought a magazine called Chateau et Demeure, and they went around looking at chateaus for sale. And my husband thought, great, what a great place this is, so cheap, and look how many chimneys it has, and how many outbuildings. It had an old shop for woodworking,
Oh, wow.
with this huge, if you've been to the Museum of Industry, it's the same thing, as big leather straps that
wow.
moved machinery around. And it had a forge, and it had cattle, and anyway,
Damn,
was
it had
very
a forge
appealing.
and stuff.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
because they did everything on the place.
Right.
And when we got there, the person who took care of the cattle told me proudly, everything you need you can find here. Because I had broken the handle of some rake, and he just went and he got one out of the woods and made it for me.
Wow.
So, we were just completely enchanted with it and decided that we were going to live there full time. So we did that for a couple of years. And then we also bought a place in Paris. And our children all went to French school, and we were
Now, how
very
close is it to like civilization, this chateau? Is it like in the middle of a city, or is it out in the sticks?
No.
Or?
It's way out in the sticks.
Nice.
It's in a part of France where tourists don't usually go, and very rural. And so that's why I ended up with the SCE d'Uzilly, because we had bought from the family that had been there since the French Revolution, because their family, the family that was in the chateau, had to flee across the border to save their necks, and they never came back. They established themselves in England, and this other family, who were rich tobacco merchants, bought that place, and so they had kind of gotten to the end of, they needed to sell it. It was too much roof,
Right.
because all those chimneys, it just means money, money, money.
Right,
and
right.
all those outbuildings, it just means they were, all stone, all slate roofs. They,
Wow.
Not easy to maintain.
Right.
And not easy to maintain from farming revenues.
And once it gets away from you, like if you
Oh,
don't
my
do
gosh.
it, then
Right.
years pile up and the problems pile up.
The
and
first rainstorm, they had said, yeah, the roof's it's good. It's good. So the first rainstorm, we started to notice water coming through the ceiling. We go up to the third floor, and there are like old chamber pots,
Oh,
pots
wow.
and pans.
Oh, wow.
The whole place was dripping.
You said, "Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
not
this
good.
place was in disarray.
It was in disarray,
Right.
but a beautiful old place. And we really enjoyed fixing it up, and the children all helped, and we had a great time. And that place is in Poitou, which is very far away. But my husband then thought, much later, that we should maybe get another place, which would be for our business to have seminars and conferences, and that it would be wonderful for American students to come to France and be able to stay in the chateau and learn about European cultural history,
wow.
and then travel, do a grand tour
Right.
through Europe. And then there was that big disaster in 2008, and that kind of
Right.
got shelved, and I ended up owning the chateau by myself.
Wow.
So It had been kind of mostly fixed up.
You
And
learned
talk
how to
about
till the
red
land.
tape. No. I got somebody. I had a neighbor who takes care of my cattle, but I have been out in the field with
Right.
him
That's what I
and almost
figured.
killed by an
Right.
angry pregnant cow.
Wow.
So I haven't
Yeah.
gotten up on a tractor because it's like a lawnmower. I don't do that
Sure.
because if I did, I would be doing it. But anyhow, that's how I got into renovating this big chateau in Normandy, which I run as we stay there, but we're not there all the time, and it's not our family place. So it's not our main thing.
Sure. You love from afar.
I love it from afar because we moved back to the U.S. and I've renovated kind of almost all of it, and the outbuildings and the farmhouse and the place where where the groom lived. I've turned into a cute little place to
That's
stay.
Yeah, that's been over the course of the
And
20
that's been
years.
over almost, just about 20 years. And it's a very unusual place. It has one of the very few 17th century Protestant temples
Wow.
that remain in France. There are 4 intact ones, and it's the only one. And it's the only one in Normandy, and it's one of these 4 intact ones. The others, I don't know if you know about the.
Give it to me.
Well, a little bit of history
Yeah,
about
please.
France. France had Louis XIV.
Right.
Louis XIV was a very tough guy,
Right.
and he had to be because when he was a child of 7 years old, he became king. And there was immediately a civil war,
Right.
and the nobles tried to get control of him, and his mother had to flee and take him away and keep him under her wraps. And France, for most of his childhood, was a dangerous place with a lot of fighting and there was just no central authority that was very strong, which suited the nobles
Right.
because they didn't want to have a strong king. They wanted a more open system the way
Right.
the English have it. Well, when Louis XIV came to power, his father had defeated the Spanish, and France never had another invasion until the Germans invaded in 1945.
Right.
So he came into a position where there was quite a bit of stability in terms of the external situation, and he quelled the nobles.
Wow.
He got control of them. He had some of them executed. He was quite ruthless,
Right.
but also very splendid.
Right.
And he's the one who, the borders of France that he established are the borders of France today.
I got you. So he
Yeah.
is a tough historical figure, but technically a heroic historical figure.
Hero in the true sense of the word. He was a man who stood above others, who commanded, who was heroic in
Right,
that sense, and
right.
had a tragic side to him too, like
Sure.
all heroes.
Right.
But he France, was undergoing a lot of change, and it was the beginning of a very rich period.
Right. You were saying that the cathedral tops, where yours was one of 4 left in France.
Yeah,
or-
it's not a cathedral; it's
or
a Protestant temple
temple,
because
right.
there was the Reformation, which we all know about,
Right.
Luther, the
Right, Martin Luther,
99
right.
Theses, and there were a lot of Protestants in France. Well, during the reign of Louis XIV's grandfather, there was a huge, there were the religious wars in France that had
Right.
gone on for a very long time. And the Protestants were very tough, and the Catholics were extremely tough, and they killed each other, and
Right.
there were massacres. Along came Louis XIV's grandfather, Henry IV, and he had been born Catholic, converted to Protestantism, converted back to Catholicism, was Protestant again, just following what he had to do,
Right.
really. And he converted finally to Catholicism to unify the country. And he nevertheless allowed Protestants to have religious freedom. That's called the Edict of Nantes. Well, the idea, over time, the Catholic aristocracy gained more and more control, and it's not really something where people were evil and wanted to destroy the others. They truly felt that to teach people that the sacrament, that Holy Communion is not really Holy Communion, was a very evil
Risky thing, right.
and more than risky, it was wrong, fundamentally
Right,
wrong.
right.
And this feeling extended to the common people too. They didn't like Protestants coming in and telling them that they shouldn't worship a statue of
Sure.
the Virgin Mary. They did not it wasn't as if, there were the good guys and the bad guys
Sure.
in all of this. And so gradually the Protestant power got whittled down and whittled down and whittled down, and still was very much associated with very powerful nobles who were in opposition to the king.
Right, right.
So Louis XIV, the other thing that he had done during his reign, he's the one who famously said, "The state is me. L'état c'est
Nice.
moi."
Right, right.
So during his reign, the theory of the absolute king was kind of established and set up, and he embodied that. That was his heroic side.
Interesting.
I decide, not my council, not the parliament, not the nobles, and certainly not the common folk.
Sure.
But anyway, so he codified a lot of laws. A lot of the big laws that still govern France today were codified by Louis XIV and his administration. And so he had a saying which was one king, one law, and then one faith. And that one
Right.
faith was going to be the Roman Catholic faith.
Catholicism.
And so he revoked the Edict of Nantes, and all the Protestant temples were torn down because that was the end, and you could choose. You could leave, but first you could leave the country, and then you couldn't leave the country.
Ah.
So that a lot of...
What years was
I
that?
was going to
This
say,
was
what
in-
years was
Well,
this?
I'll tell
I mean,
you.
roughly.
1683, Edict of Fontainebleau, revocation of the Edict of Nantes.
The revocation.
I
Nice.
did
Look
go
at
to
you.
the Sorbonne,
Damn,
and I
yeah,
studied
you're on
history.
fire. Right.
And you
Yeah.
you're fluent in French.
I am
correct?
fluent
Yes.
in French. And partly the reason I'm fluent is that I went to the Sorbonne and I had to stand up and give exposition in French
Wow.
that lasted for 45 minutes.
Oh, God. In a foreign land?
In a
or-
foreign
Holy
land.
shit,
And
Miss Elizabeth.
getting grades.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was-
that's intense.
It was nerve wracking, but I had to write in French too. So
Well, I
it did
failed
help.
French 1 twice. If that helps, I mean,
I took German. That was
I
it.
do
And
remember.
Spanish.
Hey, you know,
Germaniste.
I remember
Was ist das da?
the song "Oh Champs-Élysées."
Oh, that's the favorite one of
hold
my
on.
kids.
El soleil sous la pluie, à midi ou à minuit.
That's pretty good.
Something tout ce que vous voulez aux Champs-Élysées. or some
Yeah.
shit. I learned that, but I failed the class twice.
Yeah.
But
Well, I don't know
remember
how you failed it,
Champs-Élysées.
and you could sing like
Yeah,
that.
that was
Thank you.
impressive.
That's
Thank you.
good.
How did this structure, the chateau, fare during World War II?
This chateau was taken over by the Germans, like so many. It's in Normandy. It's 2 hours from the coast.
Okay.
And it's 2 hours from Paris. And it's in the middle of very rich farmland. So the Germans were there. And the family that lived there kind of lived in one little wing. But they
so
also...
they allowed the French family to live
Oh,
there,
yes, they
yeah.
did. I
Right.
mean, the French were not... I mean, they didn't like being occupied.
Right.
But at first, it wasn't going to be like that.
Right.
At
Right.
first, they were just going to be good friends.
Right.
And the Germans became more and more restrictive. And part of that, they took every cow and every horse and they ate the seed corn.
Right.
They were not popular at the end, but it wasn't so clear it was going to be like that. And the family in the chateau, the old Comtesse, spoke fluent German because I think
That
her
helps.
mother was German. And, the two countries were very close.
Right.
So
Now, is
they got
France the
along.
one, not to, we don't go down this road, but is France the one that Germany kind of walked into and
Yes.
they didn't put up a fight? It
Yeah.
was just kind
well,
of like
no,
a,
they just fell.
right. It
That was
like,
in World War II.
right,
Yeah.
right. I just couldn't remember if it
Then
was.
they had the French resistance.
They
Yeah.
had the resistance, and the husband of this Comtesse, the Comte de Pelé, he left the chateau when the Germans moved in, and he was a figure of the resistance. He went to the south, which was where the Free French were.
Right.
And when he came back at the end of the war and he formed a unit called Vengeance, and I think he was a kind of bloodthirsty
Oh, wow.
person, but he nevertheless got a medal at the end of the war from General de Gaulle. And he was already very old. He was in World War, I think he was too old to be in World War One. He was a cavalry officer.
So he was an old school.
So he's a very old school
Right.
person, and he did not like the Germans to tread upon the soil of France.
Right.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
My
He was not
grandfather
accommodating.
landed on Omaha Beach
Oh,
in the
yeah.
fifth wave.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
Pop.
is impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that like? Did you say that's like 2 miles from
2 hours. You said
2 hours.
2 hours.
And
Yeah.
so
I didn't realize Normandy was that big. Like to be
Normandy
that
is
far,
huge.
That far off.
it's a
the
very big
coast.
province. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And-
we're 2 hours from Omaha Beach, and I've been out there several times. It's very moving
Yeah.
and sad and heroic.
Yeah.
Very heroic.
Yeah. He was not long before he died. He was in the 29th Infantry, which is a Maryland, Virginia unit that exists now, but it's a different 29th Infantry Division. But he received the French Jubilee Medal when he was in his late 70s from the French government.
Wow.
All the 29th members received that medal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And
Yeah.
then he was in several battles. He was in the Remagen Bridge, the Hurricane Forest. He went through. He passed away when he was 84.
Pop, one of the greats.
20 years ago almost.
Yeah.
now, yeah.
That's
So he
great.
could tell you a lot.
Yeah,
and he
so,
did.
Yeah, well, I mean, side story. His eulogy. So he lived with my parents. My mother's a hairdresser, so she had a beauty salon in the basement. My grandfather lived there, and one of her customers was a 12-year-old girl that she had a school project. She had to interview someone who lived through the Great Depression and fought in World War II. She knew my mother's father was like, she's like, I'd love to, can I interview your dad? And she's like, sure, but I guarantee you he's not going to tell a 12-year-old girl what he went through in World War II and all that. She's like, tell you what, why don't you give me the questions that you want to ask, and I'll go up and talk to him. I'll write everything down and I'll give it back to you and you can put it together. So she went up and ended up doing this, and he opened up to my mother in ways that he'd never told. He told her stories she'd never heard before. And then he passed away, and his eulogy ended up being this girl's project.
Wow.
It's a wonderful
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and how-
it was incredible.
Yeah.
Pop was an interesting guy. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
he was a good man. Interesting.
But he talked about he talked about landing on the beach. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But
He must have been terrified, or maybe he never thought about it. He was just kind of
It just
in
happened,
movement.
yeah.
It just happened to him.
It's in the eulogy. It's
I always
wild.
feel
It's
like
pretty interesting.
those guys, man. Thank God for them, like that
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of person. Because
And he lied. He lied about his age. He joined the army when he was 18.
Yeah, and that shit. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I forgot.
Because he went to his first baseball game at Camden Yards. We took him to his first baseball game at Camden Yards, and we were sitting up in this section, and I'm telling him about the warehouse. He's like, I know what the warehouse is. He's like, that's where I got on the train.
Oh wow!
And went
right?
to England for training, and then went to. I'm like, great. You
Yeah,
know about the warehouse there.
I never think about that the Camden warehouse was a train station,
Oh, yeah.
like a
Yeah,
historic.
I
I don't know
don't either.
why
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
of that way. But like Lincoln came to Baltimore at
Yes.
that train station.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, at
Yeah.
Camden Yards. It's like, you know,
Pretty
it just
wild.
never dawns on me for some reason.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, so you guys roll out of France. You stay there for a couple years, or how many years were you?
Oh, we lived
living
there for 12 years straight.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice. So
Till 2010.
So do the Bonners, like on the streets of France, like the Bonner name, like
It resounds and rings.
right. That's
well,
awesome.
I have to tell you that when we bought our chateau in Poitou, which is in the middle of nowhere,
Right.
we
What-
hired this great guy to help us renovate it. He was a contractor. Well, he was really a plumber, but he could do anything. He
Right.
was a hero.
He's like Will. He's like Chris.
Probably, yeah. He was a great character, and he said, if you move your business here, we're going to put up a statue to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I think that's about as resounding as we've gotten.
Yeah. Well, look.
Right.
I mean, as long as
Yeah.
as
So
long as
the Normandy Chateau, what is that used for now?
I rent it out for weddings, like so many people in
Oh,
France,
wow.
and also for family gatherings. It's very big.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've
It's
seen
very
pictures
big,
of this.
yeah.
I mean, it's more along the size of like a hotel. How many rooms?
It has like 34 rooms
Right.
with ensuite bathrooms. It's very large.
Yep.
But I don't usually rent it out to that many people unless I know who's staying there.
34 rooms.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's
Right.
enormous.
Yeah,
but
it's
it-
gorgeous.
it was
Yeah.
built to be
Right, I mean, it
an
makes
important
sense.
place.
And excuse my, this is me. I can't help but react in
I know.
real time. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, 30. 44.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read a famous quote by you about this place that says it's a beautiful woman in shabby clothing, ragged but luminous. Do you remember that?
Yes, that was how I met her. I'm trying to give her the the full
Right.
treatment,
Yeah.
and I have to say I feel very good about it.
Good.
I also met this great English gardener who's been living in France for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and he had come over with his wife and 5 children, and they were going to have a farm. And he said, well, it was very hard to understand the French administrative system,
Right.
which I can understand. I mean, it is. And plus, they kept getting distracted, so they had Angora rabbits, and they were, taking their fluff to make wool, and then they had sheep, and they had goats, and they had cows, and it was a disaster.
Wow.
So he became a full-time gardener, and has helped me. I don't know, when you find somebody like that can kind of help you realize things that you see and then bring their own ideas and perspective. And I just feel like between the decoration that I've been able to do and the restoration and the grounds, it's becoming
Right.
fulfilling
And
its
I
potential.
saw that. I read that. A lot of the things in the house, I guess the furniture, the art were from like French auction houses, and
Yeah.
they're local
Right.
wares.
Well, they are local, but it's funny. Everything in France that's sort of from a big place ends up in Paris. There's a fabulous auction house called Drouot that anybody should go to. It's like an Aladdin's cave. So down in the basement, they have what they call the vente courante. And you go down there, and it's just like one thing after another, and you're bidding against all kinds of people or nobody. And I got a lot of wonderful things there because it's just things that they want to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have much fancier, very curated sales also, where I've got some few nice things. I mean, a friend of mine said to me, in decoration, you want some things that are very, very good.
Right.
And the rest doesn't have to be quite so good. And so I thought that was very good advice.
Yeah, it is. You can't have
Yeah.
everything be pristine. You got to mix it up a little
You
bit.
do, but if you have some things that are just well made, well designed, and beautiful, it carries. It's
right.
what it's about. And I love fabrics. So I've always gotten good fabrics and had great curtains. If I do say so myself.
Now,
35 rooms, 30. I mean, it's more than 35 windows. So I'm sure there's a
Well,
lot
I
of
don't know.
curtains.
Yeah.
so is the Ozili? What's
Uzi.
Uzi? That's in a different area?
That's in a different
Okay.
area. That's in that area called Poitou. And that's the place that, when the first time it rained,
right,
we
gotcha,
realized. And
right.
that's where we went to. And that's
Right,
where our
Uzi.
children kind of grew up because we would go there on the weekends from Paris.
So, do your children, when you guys rolled out of France, was there a lot of mutiny, or were they cool with it?
They were
or-
cool with it. They were cool with it because they were all pretty much grown up. I mean, all our children except one went to college in the United States.
Okay.
So they always retained a very strong feeling of being Americans.
Sure.
And I think that they were, they love France, but they take it for granted in a way.
Right.
It's not quite like for me.
Right.
And they're very happy, like a lot of French people who are young, to live in the United States.
Right. Right.
It's a dynamic place, the United States. We take it for granted.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
know. I understand that. Especially when you travel the world, I think, I mean, I've only been to like California and places in the States, but like I
Yeah.
can only imagine when you go to other lands, you can think whatever you want about us, but once you see it in action, the
Yeah.
United
Yeah.
States is the best. We have our problems, but we're the best. What do you
Well, when you're American, you feel that way too. But yeah, I mean, we love going back to France,
Yeah.
and we spend the summer there, and the children come and with their children, and it's really nice.
What about weather there? Is it revolting or is it?
No, it depends where you are. France is a huge country.
Right.
They call it the hexagon because it has 8
Interesting.
sides.
Right.
But it's very big, and it has parts that are very dry and hot in the summer with a real continental climate. Normandy is always damp. Even when they have a drought, everything is green. And
Right.
you wonder,
Interesting.
why do you think there's a drought? I think
Right.
I'm going to use as much water as I want.
Right, right.
And then Poitou is hot in the summertime and everything gets kind of brown. Well, not the trees, but the grass. And then
So it's an intense heat.
It's very, very
intense.
specific
It's
for
intense
wine.
and dry.
Yeah, I guess
It's a dry heat. It's not like Maryland.
I like dry heat.
It's not like
Yeah.
the Chesapeake Bay area.
I'd much
Right.
rather
Yeah.
dry heat.
But it never gets very, very cold. It's a
Good.
very temperate climate.
That's what I wanted to hear, Mrs.
Yeah.
I hate cold.
It's further south than we are if you're looking at a globe.
yeah.
Closer to the equator.
Nice.
Oh, it doesn't feel that way, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it has very specific wine growing conditions
Yes.
also.
We are not in a wine growing area.
No.
Now, I was just
Okay.
saying, what about wine, Elizabeth? You guys get liquored up?
I
over
love
there?
wine.
Right, nice.
And I
nice.
love Bordeaux wine because Poitou is just on the top of Bordeaux. So we can go down to Bordeaux in a couple of hours
Wow.
or 4 hours, be in Saint-Emilion and tasting all the great wines.
Wow.
My husband and I went there for the first time for his birthday, which is in September, which is a perfect time. And we
He's
bought...
The
September.
13th, is it?
No, it's the 9th.
Oh, mine's
No,
the 13th.
8th. Oh, well, that's his whole family's
He
born in...
just said the 9th, no, the 8th. The 9th
Well, I'm
of
thinking
8th.
9/8
Okay.
is how I remember it.
Nice.
But anyway, we bought a ticket from the mayor's office, and it was a driving tour of vineyards with tastings.
Wow. And
Oh,
how'd that
That was
go?
back in the
A
day. It went
driving
great.
tour
Right, how
of
long?
vineyards.
That must have been a long day, huh?
Well, it was only half a day.
No, nice, nice.
Because we started out at wine school.
That's
Right.
fun.
It
Well, that's
was really fun.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So is Bill, your husband,
Yeah.
Mr. Bill, is he as history buffish as you, or is he more of the real estate cat? Or
No, he's a very much of a thinker and a history buff and a
Nice.
philosopher, and he's an economist, and he writes a daily commentary which draws a lot on history.
Right.
I would
that's
say
awesome.
he's particularly interested in World War II and
nice.
sort of contemporary history.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. You guys really, opening up that firm, it seems like the best thing for people like you, especially with your passions and stuff.
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I
we
mean?
enjoy it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys roll out of France after 12 years, rocking and rolling.
Well, I
You
did
come-
want to touch on
Go
one
ahead.
more thing from the chateau.
Yeah.
Is you were publishing letters from Elizabeth.
Yeah.
So who were they? Who was like the target audience for
Well,
those?
I started those in 2020 during the
Right.
pandemic. So my audience was, I'm in a panic. Everybody's canceled everything. I don't know
Right.
what's going to happen. And I want my customers, my clients, my friends,
Right.
if you were people who care about the chateau, to know that we're still existing. And I was at the time in Argentina, where we were locked down for 9.5 months. And I wrote every week a letter about what was happening at the chateau.
Right.
And so I got into the history, much more of the family's history, the local history. And I did that for 5 years. And because I've gotten so involved with my Baltimore projects and Unite, I've had to kind of set it aside. But I will probably pick it back up again.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because
Yeah.
they all started with "To Our Valued Customers," and
Yeah.
so I was like, this is an interesting.
Well, that's
letter.
because I think that depends where you pick it up from. It
Right.
was a MailChimp thing, and
Okay.
it personalizes. So the
Oh.
original, it's supposed to say, "Dear Davis,"
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
"Dear."
It was
Yeah.
more personalized
Yeah,
when,
it
when
does.
you were reading
And
it.
then I put it on Substack.
Right.
So then
but
it's
they were
just,
pretty cool. I went through some of them.
Cher
It was
Madame,
interesting.
cher
Yeah.
Monsieur. Yeah.
It was cool.
Well, thank
the
you.
descriptions I like the descriptions of like looking out the windows and the gardens.
So you guys,
cool.
you guys roll out of France and you come back to Baltimore. Is that where you?
Yeah, we came back to Baltimore because this is where the, Maison Mère is. This is the center of our business,
Okay, right.
is here, even though we still have branches overseas.
And Maison Mère means center of your
Maison
world.
Mère, mère is mother.
Mère. Okay.
Yeah, it
Maison
means the
mère.
mother house. And French uses words like mère and maternelle a lot. Like
Nice.
English is my maternal language.
Right.
That's what they would say.
Interesting.
Did we establish? Are you from Baltimore?
I am from New York State.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks.
And when did you move to Baltimore?
I moved to Baltimore,
And why?
Well, I mean, I got hired to work in this company that was opening up in Baltimore. So
Nice.
that's why I moved to Baltimore, and I liked it a lot.
And then you met your husband here?
And I
or-
met my husband here because,
Nice.
yeah, he owns a business that I
yeah,
was
that's
hired
awesome.
to work in, and
Good
then I
stuff.
became a partner, and because it was really being founded at that time.
Right.
Right, that's wonderful. So you moved from France back to Baltimore, and it was the whole family. Your kids were growing up. It was just you and Bill.
Well, it was me and my husband and our youngest son. And
gotcha.
actually, we moved initially to Bethesda because our youngest son continued his French education at the Lycée Français. But we were tied to Baltimore.
Right.
And, that's our place.
And Agora at that point was already absorbing, or you guys were already looking to buy like historical stuff at that point, or did
No,
you
that
start
had happened
doing that?
before. We started doing that before we went to England, and then certainly before
So
we went
you
to
just
France.
did business, like once you came back, you just continued on the
We
run.
continued in
Right.
the business, and it's the business Agora rents a lot of these, I guess about 7 buildings.
Oh.
But in 2018 or so, well, when we moved back into Baltimore in 2013, I bought a house because I was going to renovate it, and then I thought, oh my gosh, we have lived through so many renovations. My husband is going to kill me.
Right, right.
So I bought the house next door, which had already been renovated. Of course, I didn't like the way it was renovated,
Sure.
so I completely redone it.
Right, right.
But I also had this other place next door, which was kind of a very rundown apartment building. So finally, after my law school students sued me, I thought, because I didn't have any heat, I thought, I'm getting out of this.
Right, right, right.
And so I completely renovated it. And then, one of our daughters lives around the corner, and I bought 2 vacant houses that face their house. And I've, had always loved one of these houses that I walked past on Mount Vernon Place. So that turned out to be, I wrote to the guy, and he wanted to sell it along with 2 other buildings he had in Mount Vernon. So that was kind of the nucleus of it. And
Right.
then I've expanded, and I own several houses kind of near where we live, and I'm doing a huge renovation on one of them around the corner.
Is that
And
the Ashbury House?
Asbury House is very recent.
Ashbury House.
Yeah. But yeah, on that street. So around the corner, I'm renovating at 708 St. Paul Street, which is the one that, the outside wall was falling off because people had been digging away at it for a little too long. So, yeah, Asbury House is a small project. I'm not going to go too far with that because I
Right.
do have these 2 vacant buildings that I need to renovate.
So, I mean, these people that you write to about purchasing their house, I'm assuming they're like old owners. Like they're not like new people that bought the house that are just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, I haven't run into that too much.
Right.
I mean, now people know that I will buy, and I'm reliable, and if I say I'll buy, I will have
Right.
the money,
Yeah.
and I won't fight with them,
Right.
to get a little this and a little that, once it's fair. So I do have people coming to me, but mostly people, I mean, I think what's happened in Mount Vernon is, there was a whole generation that bought maybe in the 60s and 70s, and they're done. And their kids don't want it.
Right.
And maybe they haven't put any money into it for a
Right.
long time, and it needs a big old dose.
Right.
And their tenants are starting to not be quite the tenants that they would like because
Right.
the building isn't as nice as it was.
Sure.
So, where I'm trying to preserve and improve Mount Vernon, and
Right.
part of it is being there when something like that comes on the market. I like to be there, and I like to be able to take it and make it better.
Right.
for
Because
you.
if these homes aren't kept, which most of them probably aren't, it's going to get
Yeah.
to a point where it's not past the point of no return. I mean, I guess
Well,
anything can be fixed, but it gets close.
It gets close, and it gets pretty dicey. And,
Yeah.
you see, I mean, there's a building on North Calvert Street that has the front bolted on because they had a fire in there, and there's nothing really holding the facade on.
Right.
I mean, you don't want that to happen.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, they're old. They're 150 years old.
Right.
They need somebody to care about them and get them solid.
Yeah,
That's
good
where
for
you come
you.
in. That's
Yeah,
why-
that's wonderful.
That's
Really
amazing.
enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I have a good team, so that
You
helps. a lot.
must, and it's awesome that that there's history involved with most of them. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like it's a double dose of Bonner style.
Yeah.
Because you can get the property which you love, and then also if there's history involved, it makes it even
Yeah.
sweeter.
That is true.
So, do you want to talk? I want to go ahead.
Oh, you want to talk about what?
Well, no, I was going to say the church.
Yeah, I was just gonna before we get into that.
Sure.
Just you're on the board, Mount Vernon Place Conservatory.
I'm on the board of the Mount Vernon Place Conservancy.
Conservancy.
Yeah.
Oh, it does say that.
Yeah, that's okay.
We don't read here,
You know
Elizabeth.
what? It's okay.
fine.
You're musicians, and a conservatory is
Right.
the Peabody Conservatory
Yes.
across the
Yes,
street.
That's right.
Outcalls graduated
Of
from
our
Peabody.
alcohols,
Yeah.
yes, we love
Yeah.
it.
And the Unite Mount Vernon, which are
Yes.
different.
Which are
Those are two
different.
different
Yeah.
organizations. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what they do.
Okay, well, so the Conservancy was founded, I think, back in maybe in 2012, and I've been on the board maybe since 2015. I'm not entirely sure. And it was founded by Henry Hopkins, and the vice president, who's always been the vice president, is Faith Mills Paul, whose father-in-law was very involved in the redevelopment of Baltimore in the 70s.
Okay.
And that family, very dedicated to Baltimore in that way. And Lance Humphreys, who's the director, and who's a historian, and a historian particularly of Carrere and Hastings, who designed the way the gardens are laid out, or should be laid out today.
Interesting.
So they formed it on the modeled after Central Park Conservancy in New York. I grew up in New York, part of my childhood, and that park, was pretty run down, and the city was not able to maintain it, and a conservancy entered into an agreement with them, and a lot of private money was raised, and Central Park today is just a great meet and greet place, and you can walk all over it.
Yeah, it is
Safely.
funny because, as I mentioned, Elizabeth, we're older now. You might not realize it.
You seem very young
yes,
to me.
but I remember being a kid and New York was ballsy in the
It
early
was
80s
dangerous.
and mid 80s
Yeah.
and late
Yeah.
80s.
I grew up there in those days,
and even
it
in the
was
90s,
dangerous.
it was it was coming around, but
Yeah.
it was a different place.
No, it's had a
And-
big change, and it's hard to appreciate today how
Right.
far it's come.
Right, and that's
Yeah.
all with retrospect. That was what it goes back to that thing with time. It's like time is flying now, and
Yeah.
it's like you don't have that perspective until
Time
you
makes fools of us all.
look. I know, Elizabeth. For God's sakes, don't get me going on the philosophy and time and stuff. If we can go all
Yeah.
day about that kind of
Okay.
stuff. But I won't.
So
bore
anyway,
you.
the Conservancy maintains the parks. It works with the city, and the city provides some services, but the city is very overstretched.
Sure.
And Rec and Parks really prefers to focus more on recreation,
Right.
and that's a very good thing.
Sure.
So we raise money to take care of the parks, and there's a much bigger project in mind, which is to restore them, and that entails rerunning irrigation lines. There's no irrigation lines now, and very low water pressure, and replacing the dirt that's
Right.
been there forever.
The soil.
And most of the stone is, well, it's not stone. The concrete is breaking up. I mean, it's time for it to have a big facelift,
Yeah,
and more
right.
than that, really. So they've raised $13 million for that.
Oh, wow.
This is the same group that restored the Washington Monument. The Washington Monument was practically condemned. You couldn't go inside it. And Henry Hopkins really drove that fundraising, and of course Faith Mills Paul and Lance, and they oversaw the restoration, and now you can climb right up to the top if you've
Right.
got the strength.
I got you. So
Really?
they have
Yeah.
it down to a science kind
They're
of. Like
really
they've got
good at it.
Right.
And
right.
they're working with a firm called Olin Landscape. Olin Landscape is very famous because they took Bryant Park in New York City, which was a dangerous place full of drug addicts and where you could buy any drug you wanted.
Sure.
Right behind the New York City Public Library. But it had become a very bad neighborhood. And they turned that around, and today people go and sit and have coffee, and you can leave your
Nice.
handbag there and A little park steward is going to chase after you and say, "Ma'am, you forgot your
Wow,
bag."
yeah.
I mean, and they have concerts there, and it's a great place. So they were the firm that was engaged to do this next overhaul. But it's not a change in the design. It's going to have the trees going down the sides and beautiful plantings.
Right.
They're just handling the concrete parts of it.
That's awesome. Once you get somebody
Yeah.
that you know has the game locked up tight.
They do,
you know,
and they care a lot about urban space. I mean,
Right.
they are. Laurie Olin if you ever look him up on YouTube or something, he's a renowned person and really interesting and really cares about bringing life into the city.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to do
Yeah.
with the parks, but also Unite Mount Vernon very specifically. With the acquisition of the church, that's our vision, is to bring life in. We're not going to shut that place down and
Right.
do a huge renovation. No, it's a church. It was functioning. It's still functioning as a church because it still has a congregation.
Right.
So we've just got the heat turned back on, and
The heat is back on?
the heat's back
Awesome.
on.
Nice, nice.
Well, some of it's back
Right,
on.
where it matters.
Yeah.
Right, where it matters.
And there's a lot of animal heat when people
Right,
gather
yeah.
together
Sure,
in the
sure,
sanctuary. So yeah, but we have 2 old boilers, and they were fixable. So Martin Knott and his company donated some money and are also doing they're doing that work.
So
to
for the
fix it.
folks at home listening, Miss Elizabeth or the company purchased rather recently the
July, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
July.
Right, the Mount Vernon.
United Methodist Church.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's I actually played in that church. I didn't realize it till today. I'm a little bit of a space cadet, Miss Elizabeth, but
You don't
so
seem like
today,
it.
yeah, you say no way, but so today I realized that my good friend Ian and my cousin Jason and I had a band called Rube Goldberg's Solution.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
I had a feeling she'd like the name
and,
of that band.
and in like 2000,
Now I get it.
yeah, in like 2010 or something, I had a Christmas gig at a church in Baltimore. And, when I pulled up today, I'm looking and I'm like, this is that church I played
Yeah.
at. And it was incredible. Like it was an old, beautiful,
Yeah.
regal church.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's gorgeous. And you can feel the history. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, but it was wild because we're all about serendipity here at the
Yeah.
lounge. And that was one of those moments where I'm like, holy, I've been here. Like, I know this place.
Yeah.
I love this place. I've passed it millions of times,
Yeah.
So the acquisition of that is just out of the mere, like it's a beautiful landmark in the city and you did not want to see it go to waste is basically
Yeah,
what it
and
boils
it's
down
right
to.
up the street from my house.
Right. So
And
it's
right around the
convenient.
corner from my daughter. And,
Right.
I mean, it's something that, well, I was renovating that house next to our house, and my contractor said, "Oh, this guy came over. He wants to talk to you about maybe buying the church." And I thought, I'm not buying that
Right,
church.
that's a weird neighborly
But-
stop by.
Right.
We had already looked at it for our business back in 2017 because even then it was just a lot.
Right.
And it needs work. And it wasn't at all adaptable. I mean, we're not going to tear out, well, what are you going to do? You're going to destroy it if you do
Right.
something like that.
Right.
And so we passed, and they got another kind of gasp of oxygen and kept going. And anyhow, he got me all excited, and I thought, well, I can't buy a church, but I'll buy the rectory,
Right.
please. And he got me to give him some enormous price, and I went home and I thought, I have been completely
You said I got
hypnotized
bamboozled.
and mesmerized. I mean, this guy, he's a really good salesman, but I can't do this. So he got very angry, like Rumpelstiltskin, and kind of stamped his foot when I told him I couldn't do it.
Right.
But then he immediately wanted to know what I could do.
Right.
And then the pandemic came, and I just thought, this is for a reason. It is not the right thing for me.
Right.
And then it got to be a very complicated situation because the conference was had a contract, but they weren't really able to execute it. The person wouldn't execute it, but they were really stuck.
Right.
And so I kept pursuing it because I just thought, we can't let that just go. And
No.
the developer that was interested in it, that had this contract, was somebody who had bought a church and a couple of parish houses, and he had turned the parish houses into apartments. Fair enough, but the church was just sitting there.
Right.
And, that had already been the fate of that church.
Right.
It could not go on like that. And anyway, I was very lucky because I found these 3 other people, and we created this Unite Mount Vernon.
Nice.
And that's, you want me to tell about the others that
Yes,
are involved?
please.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've met Jack.
You've met Jack.
Yes.
Well, Jack really was the driving force, and he knows about acquiring buildings.
I got you.
And he knows about financing them through, public venues and foundations. He does that.
And did you just meet these people in your,
In my
like
neighborhood.
throughout the time, like you kind
Well,
of?
I met Jack relatively recently. I mean, the other people involved are, the other, is Ann Powell, who's a neighbor. I didn't know very well at the time.
Right.
But Jack knows her very well because she's on the board of Preservation Maryland, and she
Nice.
does she's an architect who does historic preservation, and it's a small world.
Right.
And he is on the, he works for Central Baltimore Partnership.
Yep.
So
you've met him. We met him at Guilford.
yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Jack
the guys at
Dana,
the tables
yeah.
downstairs.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
He's doing the Station North renovations
Fun.
and the market up there, which is opening this week, I think.
Nice.
So he's a very savvy guy, very nice guy. And then Henry Hopkins, who is the head of, who's the president of the Conservancy, of the Mount Vernon Place Conservancy. I'm also on the board.
Right.
And he knew that he would have liked the Conservancy to take over that church, but there are probably good reasons why, just to others, it didn't seem like the best idea.
Right.
It's a big responsibility, and they're really trying to get down to the finish line with that big renovation of the north and south squares.
Right.
So he very graciously said, I'm going to support you. I'm with you on this. And so he's the treasurer of our
Nice.
4-person board. And we're going to expand it in the new year, obviously, and bring in more people. But yeah, that's how it came about. And because that existed, and I was in constant talks with the conference, which at the time owned both buildings, they wanted to work with me, but they had this other contract. Well, then the guy who had the contract died of a heart attack.
Oh, no.
I did read that.
Yeah, and which was very sad.
Right.
But at the same time, it opened the door.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
like
And
the whole thing fell through.
The
I
whole
guess,
thing
yeah.
fell through, and the conference was able to sever ties with his widow and 2 sons. And,
Sure.
it was possible suddenly to do something, and I certainly didn't want to lose any time. That
Yeah.
happened I think that happened in May of, I guess that happened in 2024, but it took us a long time to, work through the deal
red tape and
with the
Right.
conference. But really, right from when that happened, we were able to push through.
Yeah, that's one of those things that you don't feel good about something like that, but it is if you're pursuing that
Yeah.
and that happens, then you're like, I got to take this I got to take this.
It's like stalking a big
right.
deer,
Right,
and you don't
right,
want
right.
the other hunter to die.
Right, sure.
But,
Right.
it did allow something very good to happen.
Sure.
And maybe he would be happy about that.
Maybe
I
he
don't
would.
know.
Yeah,
He's
right.
not a bad guy
Right,
at all.
right.
But
Yeah, life works in wild ways.
does.
And that's
It works
just one of
in
those ones that
mysterious ways, yeah. So we were able to, because we were 4, and not just me,
Sure.
or not just any one of them, we all brought different strengths, and I had that strong relationship already with the conference and their confidence. And they, and they knew that they thought they knew it would be in good hands, and I don't think they're wrong. And then Jack is a very savvy fundraiser and has very good relationships, and we immediately got support from the state of Maryland because of Jack and also Henry Hopkins
nice.
connections to Senator Ferguson. And then we also got a lot of very early support from the Goldsecker Foundation.
Oh,
They
I
are-
know Sheldon. Well,
Yeah,
rest in peace.
Rest
I
in
knew
peace.
Sheldon.
yeah. Well, that foundation is on the sort of outer limits of Mount Vernon. And Matt Gallagher, who runs it, lives in Mount Vernon
Okay.
on, very close to where I own a building.
Okay.
That's
But-
weird.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Right.
But anyway, so, he's a very experienced person who is trusted in the fundraising community. And so that is just great.
It is great.
And then Anne is a client, is an architect with a big specialty in historic preservation, on the board of Preservation Maryland. And we were able to get Preservation Maryland to agree to be our fiscal sponsor, which made it possible for a large donation to be made for the acquisition of the church.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long does a process like that, you know, you have to have all these meetings?
Well, it took almost a year.
Wow. Okay.
From poor Mr. Well,
Sure.
I'm not going to say his name, but, you know, his demise,
Right.
it was about a year.
I mean, that's actually not,
It's not terrible.
it's not terrible. I mean, I figured it would be a couple years, but that's
No.
not, you know.
But I mean, we were pushing.
Yeah.
We never relented.
And you've done it before, so you probably knew a lot of
Yeah.
angles ahead of time.
I don't
you
think
know.
there were any angles,
No,
you know. I
right.
mean, really, they had to trust us and know. And I think that was the biggest thing, is that they had gotten into this very uncomfortable relationship with the developer.
Sure.
They did not want that happening again, where they didn't get any money, but they couldn't do anything.
Right, right.
And that wasn't good for the building, the congregation, nobody.
Sure.
So, but they trusted me.
Yeah.
And that helped it to happen.
I guarantee
I don't
it.
know, but you know, we never beat them down on a penny. I mean, they were
Yeah.
so tough. You know, I mean, we bought it without working heat, and
Right.
we, you know, but it was important to get that site control. That was the most important thing.
Right. It's a huge
Yeah.
site. I mean, and it's gorgeous, and it can
Yeah.
be, you know, it's historical, and if you had the means, I feel like
Well,
it's a
it's
no-brainer.
really
I mean.
important for Mount Vernon.
Right.
It's to let that go would just be like, what are we doing here?
Right.
You know, do we have no energy? Do we have no faith in the future? Are we so much at the end of something? And we're not.
We're
you know?
not.
And
I
we-
love how you think,
yeah.
Miss Elizabeth.
We
Yeah,
had
I do.
to. We really had to do that. And you know, in the bigger picture, it's for Baltimore too.
Right,
It's
right.
Mount Vernon. I just see more and more as I've invested in it and spent time here. It's a very important part of the different pieces that make up Baltimore City.
Yeah, I couldn't agree
It's
more.
not the oldest part, but it's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, it's had a very long history and been very connected to people who really wanted Baltimore to be better.
Right.
Great philanthropists all lived, you know, in the 19th century, they all lived around the squares.
That's awesome.
And, you know, it's, in a way, you know, you stand on the shoulder of giants and you feel that there.
Yeah, right.
And I think that church is part of that. You know, those are the people that had the vision to build a church like that. It was built in 2 years.
Right. Is that right?
Church was built
Wow.
in 2 years.
Yes.
It's very
So-
Gothic.
It is.
Well,
It's
it is Gothic.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I mean. It's
outside.
like it'd be such a shame if that was gone.
Oh,
you know, it's like
you don't realize how much it means to people.
you really don't.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny you say that because Thursday night, the
yeah,
Ivy
you
Bookstore
went.
has a pop-up that has the
Yeah.
pop-up shop inside, and I mean the line was wrapped around the building,
Yeah.
and I was just standing there listening to people talk, and people were asking what the line was. They didn't know, and people were like, "It's open, like we want to go inside."
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So everybody's excited. I was telling them all about the holiday party too, because we
Oh,
can talk
good.
about
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah,
Because,
let's talk
um,
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be fun.
Well, what date? What's the date of
December-
it?
December.
why?
18th.
Why? I'm so glad you asked.
Thank you, Miss.
It's the 18th of December. The doors open at 7:00. There's my daughter Mariah Bonner.
Nice.
I'm going to give her a plug.
Yes.
And her faithful accompanist Marcus DeGan are starting at 7:30. And my daughter sings in French and English because she was
gosh.
brought up in France.
Nice.
And they're going to sing they have a great playlist. And then at 8:00, we're going to have Clayton, who's an amazing guy who's sung with Stevie Wonder. And,
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, he's a very,
Nice.
very reputable
That's
guy.
fun, yeah.
And yeah, so he's going to be doing the show for us.
That's
We're really
wonderful.
excited about it.
December 18th.
It's
Yeah.
December
Yeah,
18th.
that's awesome.
And it's free.
We're going. I'm
It's
going.
free. You should sign up.
Yeah.
Well, well, maybe
You know, we're not selling. We can seat 1,500 people in that church.
1,500.
Can
Yeah,
you,
but-
is the second level like
Yes.
usable?
Yes, it's usable. I mean, this church was used.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
So it has 900 seats on the ground level, and the rest of them are on those balconies. But we're not going to do everything. We're limiting ourselves to several hundred.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So it is
A
an
small
RSVP.
number.
You're recommending to RSVP?
We're recommending that you go online on Eventbrite and book yourself a ticket. It's free. You don't
Right.
have to pay anything. Of course,
It would be
donations
nice.
are gratefully
Yep.
accepted.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, that
And
is,
we've had
it's on
some
our
very
calendar. We have all
generous
those
donors
links.
already. Yeah.
We'll add the Eventbrite link. I don't know if I have that on the calendar right now.
Yeah.
And starting today, you may hear TMD mention this event.
Good. Nice.
So that'll be good.
Yeah, WTMD, good sponsor, partner of the show, or,
And then, so what other plans do you have for the church?
Well, we I guess
It's a
I'm
great
going to sound like
question.
somebody who doesn't have a plan. I mean, we did not go into this thinking we know what we're going to do
Right.
with this space. This space has to tell us, and people have to tell us, because we're not shutting it down to create something and then find out our idea wasn't really didn't have
Doable,
any
right, sure.
resonance. So our idea is just to start using it.
Yeah.
And we've had tremendous feedback. I mean, or tremendous interest in doing things. So we're not only are doing this concert with Clayton, and there's been great response for that, but we have the Ivy Bookshop pop-up in the lobby.
That's awesome.
They're very interested. And I think that, next year we'll probably do a Christmas market in there. I think there's a lot of interesting Baltimore businesses that would like to come downtown.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people are very interested, more than you realize,
Yep.
in the history of Baltimore, and Mount Vernon Place does represent something.
It does.
That's why I asked,
yeah.
because we also have an armada of bands.
Right.
Well,
oh, yeah,
Like,
right.
it's a
The
great
Armada of
space.
bands should be there.
Yeah.
It's wild. There was a
Absolutely.
choir in there that night when I went in there, and the acoustics were. It was,
Well,
it
I
was
played that. I mean,
great,
that's
yeah.
why it's so weird that
Yeah.
it's serendipity, man. I love it. Like, it's
Yeah.
incredible.
No, it is serendipity.
It really
and
is. It's crazy.
very.
It has a
I
full
mean,
commercial kitchen.
and it has a full
That's
commercial.
funny.
like it.
That's the selling point for Woe Day.
Well, I don't know how to use any of that stuff.
Yeah, you just you'd be like those good fairies in Sleeping Beauty. who
Right,
go,
right.
One tisp. Yeah,
That's so funny.
well, the basement area, which is not really a basement, I'm not going to call it there.
Right.
It's a lower level,
Right,
and it
right.
has lovely windows, which we're opening up because, thanks to our generous donors, we're going to be able to put in a split system in the basement and take out all those air conditioning units
wow.
that block the windows. There's a daycare center that's going to be opening in January, and
Yep.
they're a daycare center that was there before. And when this potential developer died, they had to move out because of the conference.
That
The Methodist conference needed to be able to have the building empty to sell it. They just had then moved over to Grace and St. Peter's, over on the other side of Mount Vernon, not very far, but it's a great place called Little Miracles. And
awesome.
they have a waiting list, so they're going to reopen in our space, and they're already in there and getting ready.
Yeah, we went
they'll
down there and
use
looked
that
at
kitchen.
that. That was cool.
Yeah.
It's a huge space.
That's cool because it's familiar to them anyway because they were there before.
And it's a great service
Right.
to have in the city.
Absolutely.
So for people who live there who might have little children, it's a great service, and people who are working in the city. And not that far from there, they can bring their children, and they don't have to be, running back to Cockeysville or something.
Sure.
If the child is sick, they can go right there and pick them up. Or if there are reasons why
Yeah,
you
that's
might
awesome.
want your child to be close to you.
Right, and you also mentioned to me, I don't know where. I mean, I walked through the whole building, but I don't. Where was the bowling alley?
Oh, well, I think the bowling. I'm so glad you asked that question, because I was just in there today and I thought, is that tilted area? Was that where the bowling
Right.
alley was? I don't know. I've just discovered all this fairly recently because, I didn't know that much about the history of it. And then I own Asbury House. Well, Asbury House is where all the records are. So I've been going
Is that
through
the
them.
one behind it
It's beside it.
or beside it?
It's
Yes.
beside it on East Mount Vernon
Yep,
Place.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm doing a big brownstone restoration on the exterior.
Right.
That's why it is cloaked in secrecy.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have
Cloaked
a
in
front door.
secrecy. I love that.
Well, it's got a great big, screen
Nice.
so that no dust flies around and annoys people.
Nice.
So, yeah, I've got a team working on that. And funnily enough, I, who speak pretty good French,
Sure.
the team is all from Togo in Africa originally, and they speak French.
Oh, I was going to say,
really?
wow, that's
So
wild.
I pass by and they go, bonjour, madame.
That's awesome.
Again,
It's really
serendipity.
nice. It's like
yeah.
a little bit of Paris in Mount
Right,
Vernon.
right. It's
Yeah.
a taste of home away
Yeah,
from home or
yeah.
whatever.
No,
you-
it's nice.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, yeah, there's a bowling alley and there was a theater, which is still, there's 2 stages in that building.
Yeah.
There's one in the, what's going to be the daycare center, was the daycare center.
Yes.
And there's another one that's on the 2nd floor.
Right. Yeah, we went up there too.
We-
That's
yeah,
a smaller
you saw that.
space, but it's
Yeah.
like
That's awesome.
it's a really cool church. I mean, it's
It has a
huge.
lot of,
Yeah.
it's huge. It's enormous. And it has, I mean, back in the 1950s, it was a fully functioning, practically a little school in there. And, all the plans that we have from the 30s, I guess, or from the renovation that was done in the 50s, show, where the classroom was for this
That's
and
awesome.
that. And they had a very thriving congregation there. And it's humbling, to see that things don't always,
Last.
they don't always last. So that church was built, I guess that congregation had split off from another branch of Methodists who'd been since the American Revolution over on Utah Place. And there was a dissension within the Methodists as to whether you should have music that was, for listening to and in sort of theatrical, if you like, and
Right.
might stir the emotions, maybe the passions, and music that was that the people sang,
Right.
hymn singing. And they split off on that. And the group that eventually founded the United, Mount Vernon United, were very much, they had a beautiful organ right away.
Nice.
It was about organ music, and I mean, the church wasn't about that, but that was part of it. It was to
Right.
have a big, beautiful space. So they started, I think they got that site in 1869, and 1870 they tore down the old Howard Mansion
Wow.
and the house next door to it, and they started building.
Wow.
And it was finished in 2 years.
I mean, that's crazy because it's such like the architect. I mean, I don't know anything about, but like looking at it,
Yeah.
architecturally,
I would have thought like
it's
a decade.
it's a serious
Yeah.
building. I mean,
No,
Yeah.
it's a very serious building,
Yeah.
but people built fast then, and there maybe weren't so many codes.
well, that's
But
that's
that
the
doesn't
thing.
mean it's not really solid,
right,
because
right.
there was that earthquake. Remember?
Right, and they built to last. I mean,
And they
back in
built
the
to
day,
last,
like
yeah.
like if you were crafty, that was built to last usually.
Well,
it wasn't until
yeah.
capitalism really started amping up that they built stuff that you had to buy it again every 6 years.
Yes. Well, that's a sales method.
Understood. But I always
Financing
liked the
method.
built to last
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and it's interesting because it was built at a time when things were industrializing.
Right.
And there was a reaction against it. And it's part of that arts and crafts movement that wanted to go back to the medieval era
Right.
as the era of the great cathedral building and, the great guilds
Right,
and the great
right.
crafts. And so it is very much coming out of that movement. And the fact that it's Gothic and not classical tells you a lot,
Right.
because every other church around that was built before in that area, has the Greek temple front.
Right.
And
right.
but this is different. This is a Gothic church.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's it captures that. And the stained glass itself, it's not art stained glass. Those are not Tiffany windows. Some of them were done by a fellow called Connick. And all of the windows are done in a conscious reaction against Tiffany art glass, going back to Gothic stained glass,
Wow.
which is painted
Right.
and also cooked. But it's very flat. It doesn't have the sort of reflectivity of Tiffany art glass, which bubbles out.
And
Which-
what's the reasoning behind it? Just because it wants to be different, or Gothic is
I think because I think it was meant to be more austere in a way,
Right.
and also true to the medieval heritage
Roots.
of building Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris.
Right.
It has the big stained glass window that you see from Mount Vernon Place on the east side.
Right.
The East Park is said to be modeled on the one in Notre Dame de Paris.
Huh.
It's not as big,
Right.
but it certainly,
They took the inspiration.
they definitely took the inspiration and maybe copied, the colors and the methods, very much the same.
Right.
And no, it's very, very fascinating.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the stained glass at the top of the peak that have it's
Yes.
you use a pulley system.
Oh,
to
wow.
Open the windows.
Yeah, to let the hot air out.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
It really
that's
is.
incredible. Well, let me just tell you before we get into the final section is that your love of Baltimore and is what we love that at this show. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you know or not, but the impetus of the show is to try to bring good vibes back to Baltimore.
Yeah.
Baltimore is more than just, the wire and treachery and,
Yes.
and sports.
Right.
There's a incredible art scene.
Yeah.
The comedy scene's off the hook. The filmmaking's coming back. Bands are everywhere and everything like that. And our banner is sourced locally.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
theme,
yeah, you notice the skyline there.
right, the Baltimore skylines in the background. The theme song was recorded in Magpie or actually no, the theme song was recorded here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By you.
By me,
Well,
right.
recorded by Chris, played by you.
Right. And so basically, we're trying to, in Elizabeth Bonner style on a different level, we're trying to
Yeah.
do what you're doing, basically.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that I really appreciate, people like you and the community.
Well,
because
thank you.
It's important.
I mean, it's funny, it kind of starts with wanting to have the house next to you because you want to control it, maybe. I mean, that's not why I ended
Sure.
up with it, but it is why I bought the house down at the end of the corner.
Right.
You just don't want to see these things decline. You want to see it thrive.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly being involved in this has helped me see how much is going on in Baltimore. I mean,
Right.
I'm just astonished by the reaction.
Right.
People are so supportive, and they're not just supportive within the city. They're supportive, all those places to the north of Baltimore where
Right.
a lot of the families that once lived there, like Hollis's family,
Sure.
they no longer live within the
Sure.
city precincts, but it means a lot to them.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're interested. I think people are, maybe the pandemic, we're looking to come back to life.
Right.
And that's why we don't want to have a project that takes 10 years to come to fruition. It's too late.
Sure.
It has to happen now, and we have to know that, hey, your band, you want to perform there? Show us the money.
Right. The time
I mean,
is now.
at least some. But yeah, you got to strike while the iron's hot because, we're really, the response has been fantastic.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
we just want to keep that impetus going forward and get that church back to life.
Right. Yeah, because wouldn't it be wild if all of a sudden, because the world's changing so much,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be wild if all of a sudden, the hippest place in America was
the-
Baltimore and
Yeah.
Iowa
Mount
or
Vernon,
something? It's
yeah.
who knows? I mean, because everything's just shifting. And if we can
Yeah.
shift perspectives and make people see that there's a lot of good in this city and there's a lot of good history too. I
Yeah.
mean,
There
that's the
is.
other thing
Yeah.
I knew there's great history in Baltimore, but I didn't know anything about what you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
you
I'll
know?
tell
Yeah.
you, another episode of ours you should check out is Evan Woodard.
Oh, yeah.
He goes by Salvage Arc on social media, but he's the guy that digs up all the privies in
Oh,
Baltimore.
he came. Yeah, he
Yeah.
came and dug up a privy in another building that I'm restoring, actually.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't find as much as we hoped.
Right,
or,
right.
Or maybe he did.
Right. Well,
In the dead of night.
don't know.
Well,
No,
he's
he's
got-
a
But
great
yeah,
guy.
he does a lot of
very
cool stuff.
interesting
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot
we
going
interviewed
on.
him
Yeah.
back in July, I think, or June. Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of thing, it's very interesting. And maybe people are interested in that again, and they seem to be.
Yeah.
How did people live in the past, and what did they hold in their hands?
Right.
What might they have dropped?
Well, it's funny. His biggest problem is where to put all the stuff that he
Yeah.
does have because
Oh.
it's all in his house.
Yeah,
Oh,
where
he needs a
nobody sees
museum.
it. Yes.
Well, what it was he
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
he had a spot lined up where he was going to start a museum, and the federal fundings got renewed.
Oh, yeah,
or,
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
happened, but he's an interesting cat. He likes Baltimore a lot, and he's doing good stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
you
he
know.
should come and do a temporary exhibition in
Yeah.
our space.
I do think
We
he
are
would
I'll
do
open
it.
reach
to
out
that.
to. I'll reach
Yeah.
out to him
Yeah, I
about
do
that.
because
Yeah,
he was really
definitely
looking.
do.
He was disheartened by the whole thing, and he's got very cool stuff. He
Yeah.
brought in a whole bunch of stuff, like
Yeah.
a Derringer revolver that
Yeah,
from
that he
like
pulled
the
out.
1800s. I was
Yeah.
like, oh
Brought in
shit,
like
this
a
is.
How did that
syringe.
end
I
up
know.
there?
I said,
he bought dentures that
yeah,
were
man.
old dentures.
yeah, like it was crazy.
An STD syringe.
Yeah, good
Oh, boy.
episode.
Yeah, it was
Great
interesting.
episode,
Yeah.
Elizabeth. Great
Yes,
episode.
great
Yeah, 'cause
episode.
We were
Yeah.
looking at it. We're like, "What is that?" He's like, "Well," and he researches everything, so he
Yeah.
knows what he finds. But it's all the bottles and stuff. Like that's the thing. Like not only because people that have these privies, they'll have contractors come in and repair them, but not correctly. Like he goes, he explores them, he extracts everything, and he that's
knows how
just
to
he's
shore
like,
it
we'll
up.
do everything for free as long
Yeah.
as we get to keep everything that we
Right,
find.
right.
But he's like, I don't need more bottles and things. So when they find cool stuff that he already has, he gives it to.
He gave us
gives
a
it
few
to
bottles
yeah,
and
it's
things.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
But then he repairs it properly so it won't cave in again.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's good stuff.
But yeah, he's a cool dude.
Well, I just wanted to take a minute to let you know that you do have some ardent fans out here at Sanity Lounge that appreciates what you guys are doing, and Agora in general.
Yeah.
Worldly in France. If I ever get there, I'm
You
going.
can come stay
Yeah.
at the Chateau de Courtemer.
Yeah.
I'll go. I know Elizabeth.
And then you
I'll
touched
go-
on it, I think, in the beginning. I think we were recording. You said you spend time in Ireland a lot, too.
Yeah, we do. That's fairly recent.
And that's just Irish roots. You love the land.
My
What's
husband,
The...
I have no Irish roots. It's so kind of embarrassing.
Well, no,
that I'm in Ireland,
Irish people
but-
scare me, but I love them. But they scare
Well,
me.
my husband's family, his father's family came from Ireland.
Okay.
So
That's so
he's
funny.
completely legitimately
That's awesome.
there and loves it. And we have a business that we started a long time ago called International Living. I was the first editor of International Living.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
it on your resume.
Yeah, it's on my
Yeah,
resume.
that's awesome.
I had to dig that thing up.
That's all right.
So that moved to Ireland, I guess, in about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and moved into a big. Well, we love old buildings, so we bought an old building that had been a convent, and then it was a retirement home for old nuns.
Wow.
And there are a lot of them buried in the garden with
All
little
right.
markers, and then there were no more nuns left. So they sold it to us. And before that, it had belonged to a very rich, a very
Right.
successful, prospering Quaker family
Oh,
that had cotton mills. And
Damn.
obviously connections with the United States and probably with Baltimore.
wow.
Curiously enough, the Malcolmsons. But anyhow,
Serendipity.
yeah, serendipitous. So we were, we had that reason to be there. And then our son, who now runs our business, had taken that over about 4 years ago, kind of cutting his teeth, running a business. And so it just seemed like a great idea to be there because they were starting their family. And,
So is Ireland as gorgeous as I feel like it is?
oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's a
God,
complete.
yeah, I mean, I haven't been there, but I know that.
I feel like it's gotta.
It's
like,
a cliche.
Yeah.
It's a cliche on
Right.
steroids. It's,
Right.
there's a rainbow every day, if
Right.
not multiple times
Right,
a day,
right,
in
right.
multiple parts of the sky.
Yeah, because I can't get a read on. I feel like it's got to be lush and green and beautiful. Everybody says it.
It is.
but,
But the people are very nice also. And it has that feeling of being a place that hasn't kind of caught up with the contemporary world. So people are, obviously they've had a lot of violence in
Sure.
Ireland, but and in our area where we are also.
Right.
But people are always nice, polite to each other.
Right.
They value that, and they're generally kind of easygoing. I mean, personalities are personalities, but it's a culture that has remained, at least, I think in the countryside, maybe Dublin has changed a little bit. But, everybody knows everybody else. And when everybody knows everybody else, you don't go around stamping on people's toes.
Sure. Right.
You are careful and
Yeah,
you
right.
are courteous and you are considerate.
Sure.
And it's nice and they're very welcoming
Yeah.
and love Americans.
Yeah.
And as far as Ireland is like are there specific parts that are touristy, or is it kind of spread out everywhere?
I think it's pretty touristy everywhere.
Is that right?
I mean, I think that's because so many Americans have roots from all over Ireland.
Right.
So my husband's family, the Bonners, are from Donegal. Every second person is called Bonner up there. It was a big clan. And apparently their original name was McCravishie, which is a horrible name.
I love it.
I'm glad I don't have
Sounds
it.
like something from,
I know.
from,
It means the bones or something. So
Braveheart.
the English made them change it to Bonner.
right.
Wow.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, encouraged.
Yeah, that's
But
good
so, Donegal is a beautiful place, and there are always American tourists there. And I mean, in the tourist time of the year, and we're in Waterford, Cork. A lot of Americans have roots there. So,
yeah. And to be clear, I love the Irish. Okay, I don't. I said
I think
they
you should
scare
say
me.
that.
They scare me.
They're
but
intense.
It's only because I used to have a drinking problem, Elizabeth.
Oh,
I don't
I
drink
see.
anymore, and whenever the shit went down,
Right.
Irish people.
You were also partial to whiskey too.
I was partial to
Well,
whiskey.
they make
It was
very
ugly
good
time.
whiskey
They
there.
do.
Yeah.
They do.
And
yeah.
we live right near some of the best whiskey in the
Is that right?
world. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
What would you
well,
guess that was?
Let me think. Glenlivet.
No.
Am I close?
I've completely blanked out on the name.
Bushmills.
No, my God, no.
Glenmorangie.
Glenfiddich.
No, they're Scotches.
I think those are Scotches.
Yeah.
They are.
This
I don't
is
know
an
if you-
Irish whiskey, but it's very
Irish
famous.
Mist. No, not Irish Mist.
Irish green. You find the old
yeah.
bottles in the gutters.
Oh, what is that?
Right.
No, anyway.
Is it that? No, I think Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec drank the Scotch.
That's your hero, Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
Well, his character's
Yeah.
fun.
Well, my husband was in a pub one night. This was a long time ago in his youth. And he said everybody was singing and they were having a great time. And then all of a sudden, this guy who was talking to just fell over like that, flat.
Right.
But his beer did not spill. He
I love that.
held it up the whole time, and then he got back up.
That's the most Irish shit I've ever heard in my life. That's what I mean. That's what I'm
It was
talking
a
about.
Guinness.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like the don't spill Guinness.
No. Oh, don't waste it.
know.
Don't waste it.
Right.
Ever. That's wonderful.
I've heard the stories of Guinness, like Irish Guinness,
Yeah,
like
man.
having it there versus here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very good over there.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
I guarantee
Strong.
it.
It's a more hearty
Right,
beverage.
right.
Yeah.
And the history of Ireland's pretty fascinating.
It
I
is
mean, the
fascinating.
Scottish and
Yeah.
Irish and English and like that whole
Yeah.
thing is
And
very
the,
fascinating. I didn't know about until 2 years ago when I started
and the French
learning.
too.
Is that
Because
right?
Ireland had never been conquered. It was never conquered by the Romans anyway.
Right.
It was conquered by the Normans who came over they conquered England, and then about 100 years later they went and conquered Ireland.
Right, right,
And they did take it over.
right.
And most of the old Irish families, aristocracy, were Norman.
Well, I just know that, and the only reason why this came onto my radar, I love history, but as
Yeah.
I mentioned, I had an alcohol problem in my youth, so I didn't realize I love learning until I was like 35. So, I'm just coming to all this, but it just dawned on me, I heard an interview with Brian Cox, the older,
Yeah.
I think he's a Scottish actor.
Yes.
Older cat. And he was talking about how, him and Richard Harris, who was an older actor back in the day, Richard Harris, he was an Irish cat. And Brian Cox is a Scottish cat. And he was saying how, in the 70s, they got along really well, but, it was really, they don't get along. The Irish and the Scots, maybe?
They're very different.
Yeah.
And the Scots are Protestants.
Okay, maybe that was
That's
it. It was a religious
huge
thing.
And
right.
not only that, but in Northern Ireland, the Scots, who are now the Scots-Irish, were brought in to settle because they were Protestants. And, well...
So it leaves a bad taste.
Well, the Scottish rebelled against English crown authority because since the Normans had conquered it,
Right.
well, we don't think of this, but the part of France that we're in Poitou and in Normandy, was French. The French king had more land in France than the French king did. And you had the 100 Years' War, which resolved that in favor
Right.
of the French, with Joan of Arc and everything. But the,
The Scots and the Irish.
The Scots and the Irish didn't get along very well, and when it was Oliver Cromwell put down a big rebellion that the Irish had against the English crown. The English had held it, even though, it was Norman, it was French in a way, but it was the English crown that prevailed.
Right.
And it was a Plantagenet kings. And when the English chopped off the head of Charles I,
Ain't that a bitch?
and they had that
They
revolution.
did things different back then.
They did things earlier than the French. They were always in advance.
Right.
And you had you had Oliver Cromwell and the Protestant sort of takeover of England,
right.
and they invaded, and France sided with the Royalists, the Catholic Royalists, because they were related for one thing, and the Irish were right along with the French in that very Catholic country, and Oliver Cromwell came in and laid waste to Ireland.
Wow.
And left a lot of hatred behind, and left a lot of hatred for Protestantism.
Yeah, it just never occurred to me. Like, you always think about, Israel, Gaza, or all these weird little things, and I never think about Scottish or Irish or even English and Irish hating each other so much. And
it's very ingrained.
Yeah,
and it's funny because you'd think they would have given it up. Like, it's been how long?
Well, right. I mean,
1600s.
Right, but I don't know.
No.
Like, I guess if you live around those parts, or the passion can get riled up if you have some whiskey or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I think it's more than that. I think that identities are much more profound than people think.
And generational.
And with religion, if you have religion in the mix.
And many generations. And I mean, but it kind of brings us back to Baltimore, doesn't it? It's generational.
Absolutely.
It's these things are, so much of our identity is anchored in deep history.
Yeah, right.
And it's part of the good and the bad history of Baltimore.
Right.
It's
and that's
very
my
powerful.
thing. I'm all about the good and the bad.
Yeah,
like, I'm in.
They're
Like,
both real.
Yes, absolutely. I love all of it.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Elizabeth, this brings us, in my opinion, are you good? You got anything? All right.
I'm curious about this one. I kind of told her, but she may have
We
forgotten.
like to wrap up the interview.
Where we're going.
We like to wrap up the interview with, we're movie cats. Like, we love films around here and everything like that. And so to really get to know our guest, the final question. It's fine. Is give me your top 3 to 5 favorite movies of all
Are you going to
time.
present it properly?
Okay, if Miss Elizabeth was facing life in prison,
what would I
and
choose
you
to
had
watch over
a
and over again?
DVD player and a
3
TV,
DVDs.
and you had 3,
no.
and they were like, "Look, Miss Bonner, I know you're great. You've done much for this life and world. You got 3 movies. What are they going to do?"
This is terrible.
Is
I like Moonstruck. I'm just a
Oh, that's a great
I
one.
love Moonstruck.
Oh, Cher.
I'm relieved.
Nicolas
Cher.
Cage, yeah.
So fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nicolas
I'm a
Cage.
massive Nicolas Cage
And now,
fan.
hold on now. Don't go too quick now. Moonstruck, 1988.
Yeah.
I want to say Cher was up for an Oscar. It was up for a couple Oscars.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Incredible film.
Great movie.
Loved
Who's
it.
there? Who's the other woman in the
It's
movie?
Danny Aiello, Cher, Nicolas Cage, maybe it's like
Not
Ann
Goldie Hawn,
Archer.
right?
No. And it's not the main lady.
I'm thinking about the movie poster.
Yeah, the main woman was Cher.
Yeah.
But great flick, and the guy who directed it is escaping me. But he was a very famous director.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Love
It's poetry.
Moonstruck. Yes.
And the best kind because it's rooted right in reality of everyday life.
Right.
Yeah.
Olympia Dukakis is the
Yeah.
mother. And like she had a great role in that.
Yes,
what
she
a
did.
great role.
And what about the husband? Yeah, that's
Danny
right. The
Aiello.
plumber.
Oh my God, I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. Yeah, great pool. Norman Jewison.
Oh, there we go.
So Miss
Norman Jewison directed
Listen.
Injustice for All.
Listen,
okay.
Miss Serendipity. We talk about it. So before we started the show, the episode you watched was Injustice for All, the movie,
yes,
right?
yeah, uh-huh.
That's directed by
the same
Norman
director.
Jewison.
Oh my gosh.
The guy that made
Well, I have
Moonstruck.
to watch it.
There's
Right.
serendipity.
Yeah.
So it's there in full effect. That's wonderful. Okay, so good. All right, so what's
Okay.
another one?
Then I'm good. I have thought about this in the last 5 seconds because I'm not a person that has. I mean, I used to binge watch the same movie over and over again when I used to rent them, and that
Right.
was like back in before the Ark.
Sure.
So one
Back in
movie
the
I
dark times.
loved back then was The Big Easy. I just
Oh,
loved
wow.
that New Orleans kind of atmosphere.
Dennis Quaid and Ellen
Dennis
Barkin.
Quaid, so great. And Ellen Barkin was very good in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was in Sea of Love, which you mentioned
Which
earlier.
I only
Oh, wow.
watched because she was in it, and I was very disappointed.
Right.
I thought it was terrible.
Well,
Sorry.
But that was
fans.
also because of the Al Pacino.
to be clear, so okay, two things. Number one, Sea of Love is good. The problems
No,
that
it's not.
Listen,
It's a
Miss
terrible
Elizabeth,
movie.
But you said to me specifically,
It's amazing.
you thought it was terrible because there's no way that Al Pacino is getting that ass. I mean, you didn't put it like that. You did
I
not
did
put it
not
like that,
put it
Miss
that way
Elizabeth.
because I
Right.
am a
I
lady.
know that because you're Miss Elizabeth. But you and more or less said that.
I think all women could look at that movie and think exactly the same
and
thing.
I don't fight
No
you on
way.
that.
We can run a poll on that.
And look, and I agree with you on that point. But my thing is that as far as a murder mystery, I found it intriguing. Now,
I can't even remember the plot.
well, that's what I mean.
Just the
because
sight of
I
Ellen
understand.
Barkin jumping on his back while hiding it after having hidden a closet so she could get close to him. I thought, the only reason I'm not turning this off is my grandmother said, it's not fair to an author not to finish a book, even if you hate it. And
Right.
I apply that to movies.
There you
Most
go. There you
movies.
go.
most movies.
Okay.
Okay, so back to the Big Easy. That's a Dennis Quaid movie. I think it's
Yeah.
87 or 86.
It goes
Yeah.
way back.
And he was like a New Orleans detective.
Yeah.
And Barkin. That was a great flick. I haven't
it's a
seen
great
that
flick.
many,
It has,
many
and
years.
it has a great soundtrack.
And he did a real Creole accent,
Oh,
right?
he did.
Or he
well,
did
it
some
sounded
sort of,
real to me.
Yeah.
Man.
like-
And I read
no.
the Confederacy of Dunces, so
Oh,
I knew it
wow,
was supposed to
nice.
sound that
That's
way.
so
That's
fun.
a great book.
yeah, look
Yeah.
at you're
Yeah.
very cultured.
Oh,
Miss Elizabeth.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So okay, so
want me to
Big
give you a
Easy and
third one?
Moonstruck.
86,
Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
man.
So,
I've never seen
in the
that movie.
few seconds I've had to think about it, I'm going to say Gone with the Wind.
Oh,
that is a
wow.
movie I've seen once in my life. My mother took me to see it when I was about 13,
Wow.
and her mother had taken her to see it, and I think it's a great epic.
It is
And
once
I had
in your life.
and I had read the book in 4 days, not
Is that
putting
right?
it down. And it's not, it's not admired today because some of the attitudes seem very
Subject matter,
outdated
sure.
and prejudicial. But it's a great human story.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's probably a great movie that if I were locked up, I might want to watch again. And
Yeah.
it's very long.
It is.
So that would take up some of the time. And
Yes.
Right. It would take up your life sentence easier.
I don't want to have
Right.
a life sentence.
Well, that's what
Don't
we do
make me-
here.
That's
Yeah.
what. So we came up with that. The guy that did the Injustice for All episode, who was a defense attorney,
Right.
Oh.
came up with that new scenario.
Right,
If you're
of
in
the life
prison
in
for
prison.
life,
Right.
3 DVDs, 1 DVD player, 1 TV. What do you got?
Right. Right.
Well, I would probably also watch a Monty Python movie.
Oh,
I'd have
good.
to take
nice.
one of those.
Yeah, you got to have a little bit of levity in there, especially
A
after
lot of levity.
the burning of Atlanta and Gone with the Wind or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Let me ask you this: is the book like? Do you like the book as good as the movie? Or?
Oh, the book is fabulous. I
Okay.
mean, I never read books again, really.
Yeah,
But
because
I-
I have
it's a great
I
book.
have it, and I've always
What,
wanted.
Gone with the
Wind?
Yeah, I've always wanted to read it because I love the movie.
No,
you know,
you'll read it fast.
Yeah.
It's a very well written book, and it's, the humanity of it is
Sure.
is what I mean. I was a young girl when I read it, so
the backdrop
I'm
of
sure,
history. It's got a little bit of history.
I wasn't
in
that
there
interested in
and-
the history then, and I, certainly didn't look at it through the prism of, race relations
Sure.
of today. But it's a great story of a person who is driven by vanity to destroy their lives,
Right.
and who is very attached to a place. And I, as a child and a young person, was very attached to where I came from in New York State. And I think, in a way, personally, I identified with that character.
It spoke to you a little.
But, it also shows you the vanity of that.
Yeah,
It's
right.
got great lessons in it.
Yeah, Scarlett was not.
She's not somebody you want to be.
Yeah, by the end of it, you're like, eh.
No, and it's sad because all through her life she has opportunities
Right.
to become a different person, and she's surrounded by love.
Right.
Mammy, who
And-
won an Oscar for her role, is one of her great role models
Right.
and somebody who cared about her and one of the few people she cared about.
And that was one of the early black
Yes.
Oscar nominations.
I think it-
right?
yes, it
I mean,
definitely
it was
was.
huge back. She at least got acclaim because
Yeah.
she really did it.
No, I think she did get an Oscar.
I think.
I mean,
you're right.
it was one of those surprise movies.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I think of that as something that has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
That movie, and so maybe that would occupy me for.
Right.
So Moonstruck,
I mean-
The Big Easy, and Going with the Wind.
Dude,
Those
the
are three
Big
good.
Easy's great. You would love the
Yeah.
Big
I
Easy.
don't know if that's worthy
if I've
of
ever
a
seen
life
it,
sentence, but
It is. It is. It's a unique, stylized gumshoe
Well, I
type
looked it up.
movie.
The
And the
director,
music
Jim
is
McBride, also
fantastic.
directed Great Balls of Fire with Dennis Quaid.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
oh, I'm sure I've seen that because
Yeah. I
after
didn't-
that
I didn't
movie, I
know.
loved Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
That
for
was the
a
Jerry
long time.
Lewis movie he made in
Oh,
'86
yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Maybe it was
The, who?
85, 86. Jerry Lee Lewis
Jerry
movie
Lee.
that,
Oh, yeah.
that Quaid
Great
made.
Balls of Fire.
But
yeah.
it's funny how people have great roles.
Yeah.
You know, and you look for them to be that person again, and they never really.
Well, you know, Quaid just
Or-
did Reagan last year. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't, but I'm going to watch
Yeah,
it.
'cause I gotta tell
did
you, I
see it.
mean-
I didn't see it, but I know what you're
Well,
talking about.
I have yet to see it. I want to see it just because I love Dennis Quaid. And
Yeah.
but he got acclaim for that.
Oh, I know he did.
like
And he's
they
a
said-
very good actor.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I always like Dennis Quaid.
I love his Doc Holliday.
You know what? Me too.
I've seen that too.
The
So
Because
he
I
did
watched
Wyatt
everything he
Earp.
was
Yeah,
in.
like so there was Tombstone and Wyatt Earp came out the same year, 95 or
They
4
were
or something.
close. 93, I think.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But and there was Val Kilmer's version of Doc Holliday, and then
Yeah.
there was Dennis Quaid's version of Doc Holliday. The public at large loves Val Kilmer's version,
Well, he
and
was
I
he
do
was
too.
the coolest.
He was definitely the funner. He had the cooler
Yeah.
lines.
But
But,
they said-
Quaid's Doc Holliday, I think,
Well, I
is-
feel like they said Quaid's Doc Holliday was more authentic
that might be
to
right.
the
Yeah,
actual person.
that's probably right. But
Yeah.
if you don't remember
The
it,
danger of authenticity.
right.
yes,
Yeah.
But it was great.
But I encourage you, if you like Quaid, to go
I'll
find
watch that,
Kevin
yeah.
Costner's Wyatt Earp, and it's a long one.
Now
Gene
there's
Hackman's
a great
in it.
actor too.
Love
Kevin
Kevin
Costner.
And Inner Space.
Don't
That's a
forget
good-
Inner Space
that's
with
a good-
Martin Short
Now,
and
Inner
Dennis
Space
Quaid.
is probably, I only had a few seconds. I
Right.
would add that. That is a great,
I
great movie.
love Inner Space.
That
Martin
is so
Short's
funny.
one of my
Martin
favorite
Short
people
is
of all time.
fabulous.
Yep. Can
That's
you,
Dennis
How
Quaid,
about-
Meg Ryan. I guess that's where they met.
that
maybe.
is where they.
How about
They
when,
met, I believe.
he's at the cash register
Yeah, right. The lady comes up, right.
with her little gun?
And he's
yeah.
having an electric problem, and it's making him wig out.
Oh, yeah. That's
Oh,
a great
that's so
movie.
good.
What a
I have to
great
revisit
flick.
What a
man.
funny,
Yeah.
funny
Yeah.
movie.
And that was '86, and that was ahead of its time. I mean, Spielberg produced that. Joe Dante directed it, but it was ahead of its time in the sense of, like, the injectable miniature inside someone. And you know who the bad guy is in Inner Space? The main assassin.
I mean, I do.
It's
but
your
I,
special,
yeah.
baby.
But,
Vernon Wells.
yes.
From-
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
from
from
Road
Commando.
Warrior. Road Warrior. And Commander,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right.
That's a
He
great
is the
movie
bad
too.
guy.
What's that?
Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
I lo-
Pretty fabulous.
Look at
Yeah.
you. Yeah,
It's-
you're
It's a great sequel.
Yes.
I like all of them.
I like all of them too.
They
Me
are
too.
great. Frank
Yeah.
Miller's kept his vision going
Me
right
too.
along with the 21st century.
So Costner, are you a Yellowstone girl or
I've watched one episode, but
Okay.
I'm really careful about watching serials because I get hooked on them.
and then you get upset?
Yeah, and and because I switch countries, then I switch Netflix permissions.
Wow.
So I could start something and then my access stops, so I can't watch it anymore. And I'm
That's
often
obnoxious.
very grateful. No, it stops me from becoming like
Too obsessive.
every night I've got to watch another episode.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to be, especially like time. We were talking about time because
Yeah.
I, in my youth, watched films and did bad stuff. And so I spent a lot of life doing that. Now I love film still in a healthy way. I don't 24/7 them like I
Yeah.
used to, but I appreciate them, But time, you
Yeah.
got to use it, If you don't use your time right, especially the older
I just
get.
took Lincoln and his two friends to see Five Nights at Freddy's 2 last night,
What?
which was pretty awesome.
I was going to say,
Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a
Oh, yeah, okay. I have not seen
it's
that.
not your kind.
I can't
It's not
watch
your
things
style
like that.
movie.
I'm the child that ran out of Wizard of Oz.
Oh, really?
Because I
gets
could not
scared.
watch it.
He gets
Five
scared
Nights at
nowadays.
Freddy's 2 was pretty creepy.
I was
It was
saying.
a little creepier than the first one.
Well, I didn't even see the first one.
Oh, they're both good.
I've heard the first one was
Yeah.
much better than I thought. Than I think.
Yeah,
gonna
it's great.
be.
Amanda's not a big fan of them, but I thought they were great, and we
Yeah.
went and saw it last night. And it was good. It
That's
was fun.
fun.
It was great.
Well, at least somebody's going to theater, you know what I did last night, Miss Elizabeth? I didn't even tell you this. This was a gut run. Me and my 2 sons last night went to see Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair.
Oh, that was out.
Oh,
4 hours and 35
Isn't
minutes
it
in the movies.
It's in sequential order or something?
Well, it's both films edited together with an extended animation scene, extended blood scenes and stuff like that. And then, but here's why I bring it up. There, you know how like there's always 15 minutes of previews before a movie. Last night, I sat there for 35 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it was commercials. Like the lights went down. 6 o'clock start time. And they started commercials.
Yeah.
And then in between the commercials, they did the previews. It was 35 minutes.
wow.
I mean, if they're trying to get people to go back to the theater,
Cinemark doesn't do
have
that. Cinemark doesn't. They have just the previews.
Good.
They have a commercial here and there. But I saw a lot. I saw Wicked too. That was good.
But it's like if you're sitting there
those are good
beforehand
movies.
and the commercials
But
are playing,
right.
that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Yeah.
about like when the lights go down, they're doing commercials.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
And it's like, it's not going to, I want theaters to thrive. I want people to want that, you know? And it's like, we have to not be dumb with
gotta
these
go
kinds
back.
of things.
You
here,
ran
know
out
what
of The
I mean?
Wizard of Oz. Is that true?
When I was 8 years old. Well, first I hid behind the seat when the witch came out
Right,
with her
right.
green
She was
face.
horrifying.
Yeah.
She was
horrifying.
terrifying.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, it was those goblins. I left the theater.
Right, the
Right.
little monkey things
Yeah.
that fly or
It was a
whatever.
long
No,
time.
she's that terrified me when I was
Yeah.
a kid. And I remember seeing her. She was on Mr. Rogers, and she like is like the nicest person on the planet.
Right,
and
the
like put
lady.
on like the witch's hat and did her cackle and everything.
Right, I
Right.
remember that.
Yeah.
Mr. Rogers brought her on specifically
To show that she
children
is not scary.
that she's
She
not a
wasn't
mean
real.
woman. Right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Well, I don't know.
Right.
And he pulled it out. He's like,
Right, she's like this.
He's like, I have the hat, and she's like, oh, this is great, and she put it on, and it immediately transformed into the witch.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Well, that teaches you about acting.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. She was a commanding presence.
Speaking of Wicked and Wicked for Good are good. I like
That's
that.
the other thing. I never pulled the trigger on them, not because
They're
of
good.
anything other than I just haven't. But I know I'm going to like those. Like,
Yeah, they're good.
You know.
They're clever.
Yeah.
Is that
I'd
right?
like to see the
Well,
play.
I haven't seen them, but the
Right.
concept is clever.
And also, the play has been around for many
Yes.
years.
Yeah, it's
so,
been around
you know.
since the early 2000s.
Right,
yeah.
right. Well, we're going to drop this episode before the event, right?
Yeah,
and then
Wednesday.
right? And we got some advertising for you on TMD
Wonderful.
for the event. You know,
Great.
they're going to talk
Thank you.
about it and stuff like that. We're going to share it on our events calendar and try to share it on emails and stuff like that.
Great.
But
And we'll talk about joining in putting stuff in that church.
Yeah, you definitely should. I
Yeah.
encourage you to
Yeah.
come forward right away. I mean, we want to go. We've got good momentum, and we want to keep it going.
well, Miss Elizabeth, this has been wonderful, and we appreciate everything you do and Agora does, and we appreciate your husband and
Oh,
what he
thank you.
does. And
I do too.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you can tell your friends about the show, if you would, and help us spread the love as well.
definitely
it
will.
really would
Yeah.
help,
Yeah.
you know. And you don't have any, like, thing you want to plug, like social media or anything? You got any?
We have a website,
Okay.
and our website has our press on it,
Okay.
so you can read our press, and it tells the history of the church
Okay.
and who built it and who the congregation was.
And that's the preservation.
It's on excuse me. We have our own website, which is uniteMTVernon.org.
Okay.
And then
UniteMTVernon.org.
Yep.
yes, and
I've
I
been
think
on
you are
there.
probably kindly leading up to the fact that you can make a donation
Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
because all of this costs money.
Right.
And we rely on the kindness of people that we hope are not going to remain strangers.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it's about good vibes. If you're listening to this and you like the area, you like Baltimore,
Yeah.
you believe it can be better, and you want to do good that you can actually see in real time, especially if you're in the area, you know, please.
Yeah, and
reach
so
out.
please come to that concert that's
Yeah.
on December 18th. You can go on to Eventbrite and get your tickets, and you can also make a donation at that time. When you're in the church, there will be a nice handy card handed out to all people who attend, and it shows all our sponsors, very generous local businesses, Baltimore businesses, and some individuals as well. lots of individuals,
Sure.
really, to be truthful, including our electrician, who's been a real hero.
It takes a
Horton
village.
Electric, I'm going to give him a shout out.
Nice.
And anyway, you can make a donation while you're in the space as well.
That's
and
wonderful.
If you can't do that, we want you to come and just have a wonderful time.
That's
It's going
good
to be
stuff.
fun.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Well,
going to
this
be a
is
great concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's your daughter, so that's fine.
Oh, well, my daughter's is the opening act,
Right.
and that's worth everything.
Right. He said that's.
But to top it all off, you get to hear Clayton Bryant, too.
Yep.
That's
and he's
pretty
pretty
good.
fabulous. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty
Pretty
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Miss Elizabeth, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Stay
you so
sane,
much.
Baltimore.
Awesome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, Baltimore. You can find us at www.sanitylounge.com or on Instagram at sanity.lounge.
Keep listening and subscribe.
Stay sane, Baltimore.